Everyone, I'd like to call to order this Monday study session. It's Monday, August 26, 2024. The time is 11:11 a.m. All members are present except for Councilmember Morell, who is excused. Item number 2 is review of tomorrow's August 27th, 2024 council meeting agenda. Ms. Long.
Thank you and good morning. This is tomorrow afternoon's regular council meeting agenda. It is amended. We'll start with your consent agenda. You have 4 resolutions for final action tomorrow. The first is R 2024-199, and this is confirming the reappointment of one existing member to the Pierce County Noxious Weed Control Board. Next is R 2024-200. This is confirming the appointment of a new member to the Pierce County Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. The third is R 2024-201. This is confirming the appointment of 2 new members and the reappointment of 3 existing members to the Board of Directors of the Economic Development Corporation of Pierce County. And finally, you have R 2024-202. This is confirming the appointment of a new member to the Pierce County Conservation Features and Open Space Citizens Advisory Board. There is one new grant that's been added to Section D here, and we will remove the pending language as appropriate. Mr. Boki is ready to explain this following review of the agenda. And then I would ask for your consideration of an addition to subsection E. I did receive an email on Friday from Risk Management relating to or requesting a motion to approve a final settlement. This is in the matter of Pullman versus Pierce County. They did settle that one pending confirmation or approval by the council. And so if that's okay, we'll add that motion here. So moving to section 7, you do have 2 proclamations tomorrow. The first is proclaiming August 31st, 2024 as Overdose Awareness Day in Pierce County, and that was requested by Councilmember Hitchen. The second is proclaiming September 2024 as National Preparedness Month in Pierce County, and that was requested by Councilmember Krueger. There are no resolutions on tomorrow's agenda. So we'll move to section 9 ordinances, and you have one item here. It's O 2024-523S2, and this is the budget supplemental ordinance. This received a due pass as substituted at committee of the whole on August 21st, and there is one amendment to review. That is your agenda for tomorrow afternoon's meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Ms. Long, we received the unfortunate news this morning that the executive vetoed our tiny home village land use code. So that could show up to be read into the record tomorrow.
Okay, we can add that.
And Ms. Long, can you remind us what the charter says about scheduling a veto override vote?
Right, so the council has 30 days following the executive's veto and letter to override the veto. It does take a super majority vote, so 5 votes to override a veto, and you can't amend it. It's a simple up or down vote. So
would the meeting of September 24th be the final meeting that we could take that action?
That would be within the 30-day period, unless of
and that's
course,
the last
you
Tuesday
needed a
before the 30-day
special
period.
meeting to do. You could do that a special meeting.
Thank you. So there'll be 2 things added to the agenda. One is the settlement for the Holman matter. Council has been briefed on that in executive session. And then there's an additional message from the executive, unfortunately vetoing one of our homelessness solutions to address the homelessness crisis. Any questions about tomorrow's council meeting agenda? Vice Chair Campbell.
So, sorry, I'm trying to frame my question here. I'm a fan of Robert's Rules of Order or Procedure. What are the technicalities, what you can and can't do? Reconsideration of an amendment that passed must be brought back by the prevailing side at the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
So in this case, the executive has already taken action on it, but is it still available for council action? Because it is the next meeting and we've had no meetings in between in which we could have taken action.
That is a good question, and I'd actually like little time to research that. Maybe tomorrow I could come back and give you an answer on that.
Yeah, well,
That's a
let's bring it
really
up,
good
discuss it
question.
tomorrow
Yeah.
at study
Mhm.
session, because what I read in the veto is there was really one issue, one small issue that I think a quick amendment could fix that might bring us all into agreement on it. So let's talk about that, because
Okay.
that was my initial thought was this was pretty simple. You know, you can bring it back at the next meeting, but then I've never dealt with external
Right,
signatures.
the
So,
timing, the sequence of events. Yeah.
but yeah, I think with a quick amendment, the only issue that was actually raised in there could be fixed. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Campbell. Any other questions or comments about tomorrow's meeting? Okay, there is a grant authorization request on the agenda. Well, there's,
Chairman, would you like me to address the
yes,
amendment
please.
first?
Um,
Can you hear me?
yeah, let's do that. We'll stay on the order of our agenda. Thank you. So amendments for tomorrow's meeting. There's one amendment to the summer supplemental. Mr. Boki.
Yeah, I would call this a technical amendment. This just, you've made a number of amendments in Amendment 1 to last week at the Committee of the Whole. And this just changes two provisos to the correct numbers is what I would say is the one number is 55,039,300. It would now go back to the original amount because you made changes in the body. And then the other one is a change in a proviso to indicate the increase in $140,000 from a movement of funds you did. So in both cases, the underlying issues are not changed. It's just that we're getting provisos corrected in this case.
Any questions about Amendment 1 being offered tomorrow? Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. On the technical amendment to the amendment, if this goes through, you can only amend an amendment once, I guess.
Right.
It's it's not an amendment to the amendment. We've already adopted a substitute to ordinance 543 S2. So this is Amendment 1 to ordinance 543 S2.
Correct. Thank you.
Vice Chair Campbell.
I'm not sure if this was your question, Councilmember Her. More amendments could be off. So it could be amendment number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we don't run into an amending the amendment thing unless you want to amend that amendment, then amend. So additional amendments are not off the board. You can make as many as you wish. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions about the agenda tomorrow? Before we get to grant authorization requests? I don't see any. Mr. Boki, let's brief on these grant requests.
Thank you, Chair. The first is a Community Forest Corps and Urban Forestry Fellowship. This is from the Center for Regenerative Solutions and Urban Sustainability Directors Network. This is a federal indirect. The due date of the application is September 4th. It is for $600,000. There is no match required. A certain amount of overhead is allowed. It's part of the urban forestry program for the county with funding for 3 years. The fellowship position will allow Pierce County to host a professional fellow to support urban forestry planning and projects. And this will allow the county to increase community greening in historically underserved communities and support the development of an urban forestry plan. This funding opportunity may also support the expansion of the county's community service corps and other programming related to the urban tree canopy. So I believe I have a different name on the grant, but I believe Ms. Donahue is on the line to answer your questions. I hope I'm not putting her on the spot here.
Thank you. And I also wanted to mention that I have 3 colleagues who are in the public Zoom, and they're having trouble getting into the panelist link to address questions should council have them. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll do our best to move them over. Ms. Donahue, anything to add on behalf of the department?
Thank you. Yes, Chair. We did find out on Friday that they have extended the grant deadline to September 13th. So we have some additional time to work on this. We also found out that our application would be stronger if we focus on the fellow track. There are the two different tracks for this grant, so we won't be pursuing the development of an increased forestry core at this time.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments by council members? I see the clerks. I don't know who has the clerk microphone.
We are just not sure of the names of the people. So if you could raise your hand if you would like to be promoted.
It's Ryan Dix, Marco Pinchot, and Jess Stone.
Marco's the name that's on the grant.
I feel like we need to ask a question just because they're all here.
Thank you for you all making yourself available. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. As I'm reading this, I'm not quite certain. So this is creating a program. Is this, then, so it's a 3-year program and then what? Is it a program that needs to find funding since the feds are already doing this?
Jess, would you like to address this question?
I will certainly try. Good morning, Councilmember Krueger. So a lot of this program is already happening within Pierce County Parks and sustainability. This is a lot of community outreach through tree distribution. This is supporting the urban heat mapping, which is a program sustainability is already running the lead on. And this is hopefully going to be a big supporter of developing the urban forestry management plan that we've been kind of gearing up to complete. So this is kind of the help we need to take these already existing programs and really kick them up and making them functional and working. And then, of course, because it's a 3-year program, how it's going to continue to look forward is going to be, I believe in, Ryan, you may make a comment on this, on future budget cycles. But for right now, this is already supporting the programs that we're getting geared up and moving forward.
I guess I don't see it offering anything that you can't already do yourself. You're very talented. I just am concerned with all of the expenditures that go on and the creation of this when you say it's already there. And then I'm concerned with future budget cycle and doing all of this work, setting all these trees up and then no one to take care of them or to monitor. And it just becomes a burden as opposed to a benefit. My concern. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. How about we take those questions head on? So Ms. Stone or Mr. Dixon, your staff, first, can you start by framing up, is this a type of program that we've asked you to develop when we adopted the Sustainability 2030 plan? Is this something you're trying to implement as a result of the Sustainability 2030 plan?
Yes, Ryan Dix, Head of Sustainable Resources. This moves forward 2 different actions in the Sustainability 2030 plan. As you will recall, we applied along with Parks for various funding over the last couple of years and were unable, did not receive those grants. But we have a strong feeling that the mapping, which wasn't sort of aligned, our local maps were not aligned with some of the federal maps. We've received sort of strong advice that they will look at our local maps, which is really going to be helpful as we try to get this grant to do both Heat Island work as well as working on the urban forestry plan moving forward. So this is definitely council aligned work, executive aligned work when it comes to the Sustainability 2030 plan. I'll let Jess speak to the parks aspects of it.
Thank you. In regards to the trees and tree maintenance, a lot of what we're looking for is we don't want to plant trees and not have a way to care for them or, be a burden on our community and on our county government. So a lot of what this position, whether it's through the urban, the development of an urban forestry plan, looking at the heat mapping, is to really do targeted work. So we get the bang for our buck and we put our resources where they are important and critical and are the best used. At the current time, we really don't have that information or knowledge. So we really hope to develop this so we can best put the existing county resources we have, learn what resources we need to build this.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure it will all be very pretty when it's done, but how do you measure the heat map? So you have an area that, oh, it's hot, we're going to put some trees there. And how do you know that that made a difference? Because, the temperatures go from 30 in the morning to 80 in the afternoon. So we're used to fluctuations. I'm just wondering how, the ROI for all of this investment in time and dollars in finding a heat map, and what will it do? And how do I know it's doing something?
Marco, I believe you're really a little more in tune with that program.
Yeah, so we conducted a heat island study at the beginning of this month that was also grant funded, and we haven't received the results back yet, but we ran transects with community scientists, driving cars with heat sensors 3 times a day at 6 in the morning, at noon, and at 7 p.m. on a day that was over the threshold of 82 degrees. It was August 3rd. So that will be our baseline. This grant will take that one step further with a different type of monitoring, where we'll actually drill down into those neighborhoods and see where it's the hottest and where we can get the most bang for our buck through urban forestry initiatives. The main part of this grant, though, is that we are in the Sustainability 2030 Plan, Action NCS2 calls for the development of a urban forestry plan. And so this fellow will help us to have the building blocks for building that plan to guide our efforts in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions about this grant request? This would be on. So I'm getting my agendas confused. This is on tomorrow's consent agenda for approval. Mr. Boki, thank you, staff, for being available and answering our questions, and for your work in pursuing grant opportunities to implement our Sustainability 2030 plan. The next one is County Road Administration Board grant for the Rural Arterial Grant Program. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Chair Mello. This is a Rural Arterial Program, RAP program, County Road Administration Board. It is due next week. The 304th Street East, Webster Road to State Route 161, also known as Meridian. So it's going from Webster Road, it's west of Meridian. It is a rural arterial. It is went on Google Earth and went on the road, and the beauty of that, and it needs work. And so this is a grant amount is $864,900. The match amount is $96,100. The county road fund, Fund 150 is the source of that. And Mr. Clint Ritter is on the line to discuss this matter and answer your questions. And there is a map in your, I believe a hard copy was just passed out to you just a few minutes ago.
Thank you. Mr. Ritter, what do you have to add on behalf of the department?
Good morning, Chair Mello, council members, Clint Ritter, Planning Public Works. Nothing really to add, but happy to answer any questions. I also just wanted to be clear, and maybe Mr. Boki is getting to these, but we also have 2 other applications to the County Road Administration Board for this same program. So I just wanted to make sure that those are included as well.
What's the deadline on those, Mr. Ritter?
Same deadline, September 1st.
September 1st. Did we do them previously, Mr. Boki? Can you clarify which 2 others you're wanting to make sure we considered?
Yes, sir. So the other 2 are Nisqually Road, and that's I-5 to the Thurston County line. It's a preservation project, very similar in nature to this 304th Street project. And then the third and final one is the Lackey Jackson Key Pen roundabout on the Key Peninsula. And that's a project you've seen and are aware of. We've applied to numerous other grant funding sources, and we'd like to apply to CRAB.
Mr. Boki.
I think you saw both of those several weeks back.
Mr. Ritter, we'll confirm. We believe we considered them on previous consent agendas, but Mr. Ritter, if you can follow up with Mr. Boki to just triple confirm to make sure you have the approvals. But Mr. Boki will look into it when we conclude this meeting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions about this project on 304th? I don't see any. Thank you, Mr. Ritter. And again, we will follow up with you at the conclusion of this meeting to make sure you're taken care of. Any other questions about tomorrow's regular meeting? Not seeing any. We're at item number 3, review of committee agendas for the week. Ms. Long.
All right, thank you. So this afternoon at 1:30, there's a Public Safety Committee meeting. You have a few presentations. The first is the Corrections Bureau update. That will be with Chief Kevin Roberts. Next, you have the Sheriff's Department Health and Wellness Program update. That will be also with Chief Roberts. And then the last presentation is the Washington Way program, and this will be with the Department of Corrections folks. On Tuesday, tomorrow, beginning at 9:30, you have an Economic and Infrastructure Development Committee meeting. There is one proposal and a discussion item. The proposal is O-2024-547, and this is vacating a portion of the Benston Grant County Road. And this has a September 10th final hearing date. The next item on that agenda is a Workforce Central update with Katie Condit. And then finally, you have the Stormwater Outfall Inventory and Retrofitting Policy update, and that will be with Surface Water Management folks. At noon is your regular Tuesday study session. In addition to your usual items, there is an executive session. This is pursuant to 4230-110-1G. And then at 3 p.m. is your regular council meeting. The Performance Audit Committee for Wednesday has been canceled. So your only standing or select committee meeting on Wednesday, the 28th, is at 1:30, and that is the Select Committee on Homelessness. You have a number of presenters here to discuss the youth homelessness programs, and you'll see those individuals listed on your agenda. And so that is the meeting schedule for the remainder of this week.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Are there questions or comments about the meeting agendas for the remainder of the week? I don't see any. We're at item number 4, which is the discussion of administrative items. Ms. Murray, good morning.
Good morning, Julie Murray, Chief of Staff. I have nothing to report today.
Any questions for Ms. Murray? Thank you. We're at item number 5, other business. Is there other business by council members? Not saying any. Ms. Long or Ms. Murray, any other business for council? With no other business before the Pierce County Council in Monday study session, we are adjourned.